This is Urdizzle back with episode 8 of chapter 1 of my Zero to Hero series. And up to this point, we've tackled most of the easier courses. Episode 1, we tackled Sunshine and Blueberry Thicket. Episode 2, we hit up Oak Hill and Lakeside. Episode 3, we went to Windswept and Harrowing Woods. Episode 4 was one of my personal favorite courses, Crow's Nest. Episode 5 was Grizzly Gulch, which gave us our first real problems. And then episode 6, we shifted a little out of order and went to Kaho Backwoods to acquire the Accurate Windbreak Explorer. And then episode 7, the most recent one, we tackled Owlwood. And Owlwood was the big one because 3-starring that allowed us to acquire the Windbreak Ballista that you see up top there. And that, without that disc, there's really no feasible way that you're going to tackle these harder courses. I mean, it's possible, but you are just going to have an extremely difficult time. And so the 3 courses we have left are Coyote Canyon, which we're going to tackle in this video, and then Kaho, and finally Frozen Valley, which actually, as of this playing through on Coyote Canyon, was not even a part of the game yet. So that got added while I was working on the Zero to Hero series. So Coyote Canyon is going to offer us a lot of challenging holes, even with what we have. And so one of the decisions I made was to shift in my Accurate Glide Pioneer. Again, the focus is really on those accurate discs, and hopefully my Wind Ballista will carry me through. And so Coyote Canyon, we're going to jump into hole 1. And these earlier holes are very manageable, but for me, this is challenging because I don't have any of the discs that I would normally throw. For example, here on hole 1, I would throw an Accurate Windbreak Musket. And so you will see my accuracy on some of these holes is a little sketchy, just because I'm really not used to these discs. And I think that's one thing as a newer player you have to get used to is when you acquire these new discs, is just learning how to throw them. Everybody always asks, I know it's a running joke in the Facebook group about when am I going to get my first driver? You know, you get your first real drivers at level 21, but that's really not the case because if you play these Challenge the Valley courses, you can get the drivers a lot earlier. But what you truly miss out on is what all these other discs do and how to manipulate power and shot angles and all these different things that as a newer player you should be learning instead of just bombing drivers. And so here we already ran into issues on hole 2. I could not go up over the top. I just don't have the discs for it. And so I ended up having to play wide right, and my second shot just left me with no shot for birdie. So I had to play for par. And that's fine. Keep it in mind, we're not expecting to get 3 stars first time on this. I mean, I don't think that's a realistic expectation. And any new player coming into these courses is getting frustrated. They're like, oh my God, I've tried so many times. I played for like 2 hours and I can't get 3 stars on this. There's some of these courses you may not get for weeks. You just may have to play Challenge Valley courses, play multiplayer, do whatever you need to do to acquire new discs, and then you still may not be able to do it. So that's part of the challenge of the game is you can't expect to 3-star these courses first time or second time or even within an hour or two. Like that's part of the challenge of the game. All right, hole 4, this is one of the reasons I put the Pioneer in there. And of course, what did I do? I completely screwed it up. Like this hole was the only reason I put that Pioneer in the bag. Because normally I would throw a musket, but the musket I have, that was not good either. The musket I have is not accurate, and that's one of the things I wanted to do is make sure I had an accurate disc to throw through there. But I don't really use the Pioneer that often, so you'll see me here. I'm trying to mess around with it a little bit just to find out what the angle is. I just don't normally throw overstable discs. I prefer the straight discs. That's why I like the Fuse. I like the River. I like the Ballista. Even the musket is really not that overstable. So I don't really throw the XXX, or I do have the Explorer in my bag, but I just prefer straight discs that I can throw on predictable lines and not have to worry about them hooking. And this is just one of the things that every new player should do is just go in and just mess around. Start throwing the holes. Go into practice mode. Experiment a little bit. You guys will see in the remaining episodes for Chapter 1 that these courses are not easy. Like you're going to have to put in some time and practice them. And if you don't want to put in the time, don't complain that these are too hard. Because that's part of it. Now right here, this is a fun shot. You can find a little skinny part through there and you can actually putt that. I know it seems a little weird, just aim a little higher and those putts will actually go in. But yeah, Coyote Canyon and Kaho and Frozen Valley, they're just hard courses. And I actually enjoy that. So hole 5, that is with these discs that I have, that is not going to be one that I'm going to be able to eagle. Kind of like with my main account, I have the Glide Skip Ballista Pro, which I can eagle hole 5, but that's just not happening. Hole 6, this was one I can throw maybe the musket. I prefer the Pioneer because it does have the glide attribute, but this is one I should be able to get. Hole 7, so this is why I think this course is so challenging, is hole 7 and hole 9. So right here, even with a wind of 2, I don't know if the windbreak ballista is going to have enough to get over there. So what we're going to do is we're going to experiment a little bit. And that was a good throw and an ideal wind, and just barely got across and still kicked back in the water. So I think what I'm probably going to end up having to do on this hole, I don't even know if I can make this one. We're going to try to putt it. 65. Boop. Decent shot, but didn't quite get there. Or maybe it skipped along. I don't know. I wasn't paying attention. But anyway, so this one I'm probably going to have to lay up on, which is going to make the 3 stars on this quite a bit harder. Hole 8, we've got a birdie, so I will probably throw, with a wind of 3, I'll probably throw, I can throw the river, but I'm going to go ahead and throw the musket. Even though it doesn't have accurate, it's got the windbreak. It just controls it a little bit. Even though that wasn't a great shot, it's still within putting range. But hole 7 and hole 9 are going to be the ones that are going to probably cause me the most issues. And obviously hole 2, but hole 2 is early enough in the round that you can reset if you don't get birdie on that one. Now, this is a good example of why I played the courses in the order I played them. So I'm going to play the ballista, and ideally, that's okay, as long as I can kind of turn the shot over. If you don't have a ballista, if all you're throwing is a musket or a recoil, you're not going to be birdieing this hole on any consistent basis. So right there, ballista, even though that drive wasn't perfect, I was able to get it up here, and that should be reasonable range. I'm going to kind of rush my shot here, and was able to get it. So even with all those extra strokes, I threw a 28, which got me the 1 star. So that was to be expected. And we got a river, and that's a pretty decent river right there. So an accurate glide river. I kind of like that one. And I wasn't even thinking that I didn't have that one yet. How I was talking about I would throw a river on hole 8. I didn't even have that yet. So we're going to switch out the musket and throw in the river, which I think those are about the same length of disc. The accurate glide river and the musket. All right, so we're going to go back at it again. And again, there's no expectation here. Like, I don't know what's going to happen with these. I think you guys saw a little bit of that, and you got to watch that tree. That's actually one of the reasons I throw the musket normally on this hole and not the river, because the river brings that tree into play. But Grizzly Gulch was the first course where I started to run into issues. Remember, I went into hole 9 having the 3 stars all lined up, and I just couldn't birdie that last hole. In fact, both times, even when I got 3 stars, I think I was able to get, was it the 1 or 2 eagles that allowed me to par that last hole? But that was definitely not an easy course with the discs I have. All right, so hole 1, we're going to get. And then hole 2, honestly, you're just going to have to grind to get the birdie. Because we already know we're pretty much conceding a par on hole 7. So we cannot afford to get a par on 2 and a par on 7 to get the score that we need. So right here, I'm experimenting a little with the ballista, trying to get it up over the top, and it's close, but not quite. And we're going to go ahead and try it. I might be able to throw this down. See if we can get it. Oh, that was a bad ricochet. Eek. That's just not a good spot to be in. So again, that right there, there's pretty much no realistic shot at birdie, so we've got to restart. And if you're not comfortable doing these restarts, then you're going to have a hard time getting these. Just got to feel comfortable when you feel the round, especially early on, is just going to crap. Just restart and just try for the birdie. And what that'll also let you do is kind of dial in these early holes. Like, it'll help you get a range on hole number 1. And we're going to go ahead. I just don't think there's a good way to do this. So we're going to play this wide, get a little further. And all I'm looking for is a lane. And that's not it. So, I will try this because you never know what's going to happen. You may get it. Sit. Just give me a shot at it. That's all I ask. And that one's going to be too far left as well. We're going to try this one. We might be able to sneak it around. No. Now, in a normal video, so this is episode 8, I would cut out a lot of this stuff. Because I know some people, I put a survey out on Facebook a few weeks ago asking what's too long a video to watch, and a lot of people said 8 to 10 minutes is a good length for a video, and this one's going to be pushing 16-17 minutes, but I feel there's a lot of good information here. So if you're willing to kind of look at the process and see how things are going and the way I'm getting to where I need to go, I think it'll be useful for some players. But I know some of you will just kind of fast forward through all this stuff and not even look at it. But again, for newer players, I do think there's value in watching and listening to some of this stuff. So here with this angle, we're going to go forehand with the ballista, and that one's going to be too far right. So if you're ever posting, you're like, what do you guys do for hole 2 of Coyote? I don't know how to tackle it. Honestly, if you don't have the right discs, it's just a really, really challenging hole. Now, you don't necessarily need a high-end driver to get you up over the top, but you do need something that'll kind of get you up over the very end of that rock formation to at least get you into the opening where you're not throwing 460 feet. So again, straight ahead here, I'd love to get just right there, but you notice I'm just trying to play a placement shot here. Give me something somewhere in this range to give me a clear look at the basket, and hopefully I can get my birdie. Now, at this point, I thought about speeding up the process when I was doing my recordings, but again, I just decided not to for this particular video. So if you want to, I put a timestamp on the video in the descriptions. You can kind of bounce ahead if you want to see where one of my quality rounds starts. But again, that was first time I got a birdie on this one with that setup. So now we're in good shape. So hole 3, again, we're not trying to screw anything up here. We're just trying to play a nice safe shot out to the right. And even my safe shots, sometimes I mess up. I sometimes hit the rock formation on the right and kick in the water. Anywhere in this area here is perfect because you're right at the tree, so you don't have to worry about clipping it. And here I'm going to throw kind of a half run, but I mean, that was not even really close. Unless you're going to throw a driver, it's just probably not going to get there. Okay, so good start. Birdie, birdie, birdie here. I'm not going to miss a 26-foot putt, not with my fuse. If you gave me a dagger, I might miss it. All right, so this is the Pioneer. Let's see. Now, when I was practicing this, it was not working well, so let's see if we can get it. And that's going to get there. Oh, jeez. That is so frustrating. The only reason I put the Pioneer in the bag was for that hole. And so that just goes to show that I think the Musket is a better disc for that just because it's straighter. And I will most likely, depending on the discs I get, take that Pioneer right out of the bag. I don't find a use for it. I mean, there's a couple holes maybe on Owlwood where it would be useful, but I don't find a lot of use in discs that are overstable. They just don't do what I need them to do. I would just prefer something, if I want to make it overstable, I can put it on that line, but I would just prefer a straight disc over an overstable disc any day. All right, so we're back to hole 2, and that window is too tight. That's probably not going to work. Oh, good kick. Nope, that ain't going to work. Sometimes you get weird kicks that'll help you out there. So we're getting close to I call this the minutia. The end of the minutia here where all the crap and all the mistakes. But again, there is value in the grind and there's value in seeing the mistakes that you can make on these. And so shifting here, here's the round where I actually start to do a little bit of damage. And by damage, I mean that in a good way. Like things actually start to work out well. So hole 1, we've got the river going up over the top. Anywhere down here is pretty good. Although that was not a great kick, but that's still going to be putting range. And if you've watched any of my videos, whether it's this series or my daily tournaments, you guys know if it's inside 65 feet, unless there's some crazy elevation changes, I'm going to putt it. I feel that's more comfortable. It's more predictable. I feel it's easier to predict head and tail winds. It's just, for me, it's easier. All right, so I played a little more aggressive here, played it out wide, and I know this seems like a bad location, but I feel pretty comfortable throwing a forehand on hyzer, and all I'm doing is hoping to get this at the opening. There you go. So if you're around here, you're within 100. I know it's not ideal, especially for newer players. That's going to be a little more difficult to get those 100-foot throw-ins, but honestly, with those railroad tracks there, that's kind of what you're playing for. And then hole 3, again, we're playing nice and safe. Get it way out there, make sure you miss the tree. I've actually had it hit that tree, and instead of kicking down, it kicks hard left into the water. It's crazy, some of those. Oh, we got a new longest drive. All right. I didn't even realize I was close on those. All right, so we're within 250. I'm going to go ahead and throw the river and hope it gets somewhere near it. And that was reasonable. I mean, I was kind of near the basket, but that's kind of a ridiculous throw-in to get from there, although 250 is not too bad. All right, 3 for 3. And then this hole, please, all I'm hoping for at this stage is don't screw it up. Just get it through the gap, and then if I can get it through the gap, the Pioneer will hopefully fade down and give me an easy birdie, and it finally did. So after all the horrible shots, I finally got that to work, and I got my 4 for 4. All right, hole 5. This is the one. Now remember, hole 7 is going to be a pain. So this one, I'm hoping the ballistic can get somewhere, maybe down there, to give me an eagle look. But most likely, the best case scenario, well, eagle's gone now. So best case scenario is now going to be a birdie. And ideally, what I'd like to be is I'd like to be right of the basket, because I think that's the easiest place to put it in, because that's where the basket is. So anywhere, perfect. That's right where I want to be. There or 20, 30 feet to the right is perfect. Anywhere to the left, and you've got more of the rock formation to deal with. All right, 5 for 5. Hole 6, this is one, I don't want to call it a gimme, but it's the easiest of all these. And so we're going to go ahead and throw the musket. The Pioneer, I don't have a lot of faith in it. I just don't have a lot of faith in it. So I probably should have thrown that because it does have the glide, but I mean, that actually worked out pretty well. So I feel like I'm in pretty good shape here. So to get the 3 stars, I believe I need to get 8 birdies and to get 3 stars, I actually have to get all birdies. Okay, so at this point in time, I don't think I can get 3 stars unless, so here, notice I played it safe because there's no way to get across. I've got to hold this one out. So I've got to somehow make this. And that's why this is going to be a tricky course to get 3 stars on. And I mean, that was a decent shot, but if that's what you're banking on to get your 3 stars, knowing that I've still got hole 9 coming up, it's such a low percentage play. But I think we're okay for 2 stars for this run. So I'm going to go ahead and throw my river, it might go too far, but no, that wasn't bad at all. That was not bad at all. I thought it might. The glide goes a little too far, but I guess with the wind of 1, it's really not going to carry too far. All right, so it all comes down to this one. I think even if I do par this one, I'm pretty sure I can still get 2 stars. I mean, there's no way I'm going to magically eagle this one. I just don't think that's going to happen. That right there is an absolutely perfect drive. So once I hit right here, I'm feeling pretty confident that I'm not going to screw that one up. So just play it through the gap. All right, that's pretty solid. So for this video, I know this is a little longer, and I still didn't get 3 stars. So what we're going to do is episode 9, we're going to see if we can tackle it and get the 3 stars out of it. But let's see what discs we got out of 2 stars. And so I had that by several strokes. And so it got me a St. Pro, which I will never use. That is just trash. Any 10 speed or less without the accurate modifier, it's never going to make my bag. And that wraps up episode 8. Again, I'll call it a successful round just because we got 2 stars, but obviously Coyote Canyon is going to be a little bit more work to get those 3 stars. So we'll be back with episode 9 to see if we can get the 3 stars on Coyote.